Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new Batman trailer, as well as some other things that we're talking about here today.
Yes.
But the main focus, I think, is that Batman trailer. We finally got a real look,
Real, genuine look.
a physically moving look at
Boy, he
Robert
moved.
Pattinson's and his souped-up Camaro, of his Batman, and oh boy, I'm hyped.
Where to start? The intro, everything about the Batman trailer just clicked right for me.
Yeah.
Just starting off with having the Riddler being the villain, but having him be the villain that's so many times the Batman. This is not a bad thing, but he is a villain that the villains tend to personify like this big overarching like, look, I am who you are facing. Look at me and do all this. They take a lot of attention from Batman, I feel like. And I'm really excited because Paul Dano seems like he's going to destroy the role. But he doesn't seem like he's going to do so in a way that overshadows Pattinson.
Yeah, no, I already like what I'm hearing. Paul Dano does have, oddly, a very specific sounding voice.
Yeah.
I could tell it was Paul Dano right away. This is going to be... So the last iteration of the Riddler we had was Jim Carrey. This was going to be the exact opposite of
It's
what
going to be
his
such
was.
a real Riddler.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, Paul Dano is the Riddler. We still have not seen Colin Farrell as Oswald Cobblepot or the Penguin.
People have made presumptions of a very specific shot where you can like see him in the frame, but that's it. Yeah. Like,
We still haven't seen him yet. We got a good look at Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle / Catwoman.
I already think that she looks better than Anne Hathaway as Catwoman.
Anne
I'm not
Hathaway
gonna
was
lie.
good, just did not... She was only there for one movie, and she was there at the end of the Dark Knight timeline, and so it didn't... Her Catwoman did not make a big impression on me. Zoe Kravitz already... This entire thing just screams like a heavy rain, noir, dark, like... And I am here for it. It almost matches the tones of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. Now, whether or not they're connected in any way, in any timeline, we don't know.
That's definitely not been the overarching goal.
Yeah.
From what we understand.
But it has this... Warner Brothers are finally... They're striking some tones here that are more appealing than the recent tones that they have struck in the past few years. And they are... their casting is... This cast entirely here, just to read some names. Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, Andy Serkis, Peter Sarsgaard, John Turturro, and Jeffrey Wright.
Who, by the way, Jeffrey Wright as Gordon, instantly... It's amazing when somebody... You just see them for one frame and you can just go... They did it.
Well, he's an amazing character actor, too.
As soon as I saw him in the shot, I was like, wow.
For reference...
That is Jim Gordon.
Yeah, for reference, Jeffrey Wright, he stands out. But that's how That's how Jeffrey Wright plays all his characters. For reference, those of you who don't know who Jeffrey Wright is, but you've seen Daniel Craig's James Bond. In Casino Royale, in Quantum of Solace, and in the upcoming No Time to Die, he plays Felix Leiter. And does a wonderful job at it. Mm-hmm. But he has just a huge stacked resume of roles like this where you see him for a couple frames, but you immediately know his character, even by his voice, a couple voiceover lines.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And I'm really excited, honestly, for not only Andy Serkis as Alfred Pennyworth, but John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. I love John Turturro.
We haven't
in everything I've seen him.
And the thing about Falcone is he's a character. He's a very important character to Batman lore that has always been overlooked in movies and he's never been touched. I feel like he's never really... He'll have vague references. He'll be the starter boss.
He was in Batman Begins.
Right. He'll be
the mob boss.
He'll be the intro mob guy. He'll be, but like Falcone is... He is the non-super villain. but he's like the real life villain.
He's Al Capone.
Yeah.
He's the Al Capone of Gotham.
He owned Gotham before all the super villains started kind of being a thing, and so like I feel like he's not given credit's a weird word to use, but I feel like Falcone is not given enough credit as a bad person or as a person to face off with. Just because he's not wacky, he doesn't have any gimmick, he's just straight up a crime lord.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to see him involved.
Just I love John Turturro. He's just one of those people, like, I just have, like, even in the Transformers movies, as just off-putting as they are sometimes, I love Agent Simmons, the character. I love Agent Simmons. John Turturro's obviously got a stacked resume. Their cast for this movie blows me away.
Yeah. Something I'm very excited for already from the trailer is it's always a question of how does each Batman display themselves? And some very important things that I noticed off the bat, we have the moment in the trailer where we get to see Battinson do some crack open a can of whoop, and just get things going.
That looked like somebody throwing it. That looked like me on my Xbox. That was brutal. That was just...
The best part about that to me is not the actual choreography, which was spectacular. It's that if you notice, one of the thugs is openly filming. He's got a phone.
I didn't notice
He's
that.
like this. He's openly filming what's about to happen. And he doesn't care. He's like, okay, you wanna see me? You wanna put this on camera? Okay, let me punch the guy twice while he's down. Like, that's the Batman that we're seeing here.
Yeah, and it's we have Batmans of different fighting styles too, and that's the thing I love about the different Batmans that we will see. Christian Bale, his Batman's fighting style, obviously it was trained and it was very, very technical. Now he still hit hard. But it was very like it was very much a kind of like a boxing and jiu-jitsu and any kind of martial arts, but it's very technical. I'm not saying this wasn't.
No.
But it was raw. It was like raw. It was very much. I had some flashbacks of, Batfleck in the warehouse.
Definitely.
That scene. Where he's literally just throwing people into the floor and he's just breaking arms and stuff like that. That was what I saw in that.
Excites.
Yes, the Battinson, I guess, if you will, if that's what we're calling it now.
Yes, definitely the Battinson.
Robert Pattinson. Yeah, but that's what I saw in that instead of a... But that's just something I recognize, because Batman combat, let's be honest, it's some of the most fun in combat in superhero movies. Like the fights that just stand out to you, the Christian Bale and Bane fights in Dark Knight Rises are phenomenal fights.
Yeah.
But they're very different.
Very different.
It's like
Nolan has a very grounded style.
He does. And that's where we see Christian Bale's very technical, like, I'm going to hit you where it hurts. I might not land that many punches, but I'm going to make these count. And it's very technical. It's very timed. It's very placed. Which is how he beats Bane at the end of the Dark Knight Rises.
And if you compare that to, Batfleck, who is openly... It's interesting because his style is not just, raw or whatever, but it's full. It has the capability of utilizing everything around him, not just his own tool set, but other tool sets. But it has this extravagance to its power.
Yeah,
where
it's brute force.
Right.
It's probably the most brutish Batman.
It is absolutely, and it's also Snyder's take on these people being, Batman is not just a really strong guy. He is the peak of what a human can do, essentially.
Yeah. And
so to display that extra power and what he can do in every movement was so intentional.
Almost Captain America in a bat suit.
Right. And so now what we're seeing with Battinson is somebody who has that vicious energy, but it's in a bit of a younger body, in a bit of a which seems like a very controlled, despite how like the movement
slim too.
Very slim, the slimmest Batman I feel like we've seen in a while. And the other thing was we got a brief moment where you see him and Catwoman do a little spat back and forth, and how quick he moves, how quick they're both moving because he's slimmer. You get to see very quick adjustments and nibble movements, and he's staying very in like a balanced posture.
Yeah.
And I'm very curious to see where it lands in the long run and more extended fights.
It's a good medium because it has Bale's Batman is technical and it's so trained that even if you have a brutish villain like Bane who is just throwing haymakers and picking you up and breaking your spine over his knee, like
as one does,
casually, right? Shout out Tom Hardy, but it's very technical and it's find a way to beat your opponent, use your opponent's. It's almost like Obi-Wan Kenobi fighting a little bit, using your opponent's weaknesses against them, overcoming in a technical way, and it gets to a point where then it's not even fair, and at the end, Batman is throwing Bane through glass windows, and he breaks his mask, and it's just, it's almost scary how technical it is, and how there's literally, at some point, there's no way to beat Bale's Batman at a certain point. As we said with Batfleck, I still smile every time I think of the warehouse scene. It's so good.
I think
because
it's,
it's
in
so
my opinion,
brutal.
The best Batman fight scene we have ever seen. And
yes,
as good as this movie looks like coming up, I don't know if we will be able to get something as good as that warehouse scene. It is almost untoppable in my opinion.
It kind of stands alone because that's something that we really never seen Batman before.
Yes.
There's there's 24 men up there, and he's like, okay, comes to the floor.
Let's do
right?
that.
Right. But with Batfleck again, it is a brutish force. It's slower. It's slower than Bale. But Bale's not really going for speed. Again, Bale's going for that hit. He's going for landing the right punch with
you see with Batfleck, he has the same intelligence. Because you even see that in non-fighting, little moment in BVS in Batman v Superman when the two guys are in like the pit fight.
Yeah.
The one guy wins because he kind of like whispers something to him in the middle of the fight, and the guy punches a certain spot on the guy. Wins. Like he has all the knowledge there that he utilizes, but he also is just himself such a tour de force.
Oh yeah.
That if he has a ton of enemies around him, he doesn't have to worry about hitting specific things.
He looks bigger than everybody else.
Right.
He does.
He just destroys them because he's getting them out of his way.
It's such a brute force. Like
goons are not a worry for him.
No, they're really not. But it is just this brute force. Like even if you're quicker, even if you can get away, if he catches you, there's no chance.
And he has a way to catch you.
He does. There's no chance.
He uses the grapple gun.
Yes, he does. With a crate as well.
Crate.
Yeah. But it's like there's absolutely no way to overpower him strength-wise. And it's very much a brutish tenacity and just an utter disregard for limbs.
He's a wide boy, too.
He is a wide boy.
Power.
With Battinson, we see a very narrow, more athletic frame. I remember with Bale, he had some bulk. He was just a really jacked dude.
Yep.
But he wasn't as big and as overwhelming as Batfleck.
And I think one of the things we're getting at here is the design of the Batsuit was very intentional. I remember hearing some stuff you can see when they revealed the trailer. They talked about this, how this is a year 2 Batman. This is Batman established but young. A lot of
this is 30-something-year-old.
Right, and Batman. So this is a very young Batman. But it's not his origin story. We're getting to see him in action. And what we're seeing is that his suit is designed, literally they designed the suit for Robert Pattinson and also for Batman himself to be as practical as possible. Where you see...
you see it without the cape a couple times.
Yeah, but you see like Bale, the suit has modifications that it undergoes. The reality of that suit is that Christian Bale couldn't pee in it. I couldn't take it off the pee. Yeah. That's something he talks about. It's actually in talking with Robert Pattinson. He said, "Hey, make sure they let you make sure you have a way to pee when you, it was a bulky suit that in practical use, you couldn't turn your head properly. Then we have the Batfleck suit, which has a lot more flexibility to it. It gets some neck movement. But there's some assumptions behind some of the materials it's made with that maybe they're a little bit extraordinary for what we're used to. That's upgraded Kevlar that he's wearing.
It looked like it had some very much like almost like some Iron Man designs to where it's gonna move with you instead of.
And it had a lot of like fibrous things that was like, again, like a Kevlar or something where it's like it's not plate because that's too bulky for the way he needs to move and to show off his rippling muscles, but from a real world perspective, maybe a little too fragile if that was actually going to be something you wore with normal technology. Whereas this current Batsuit has the flexibility of movement and where things are placed, but it keeps the kind of some of the armor-esque things about it to keep him protected.
Yeah.
While he has a full range of motion with actual real life, armor and real life materials and so on. And so I think it's very interesting to see what we see.
Yeah, and again, like with his such as athletic fighting style, there's a good mix between this very technical style of Bale, a very contained, I'm going to punch you in the right way and you're going to die. But there's also, you feel the tenacity of Batfleck when he's in that short scene. And again, we've only seen him punch about one person right now.
But it's so much communicated in one.
You feel it in that fight. So it'll be very interesting to see how he is as Batman also, but how he is as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. We did get a little clip of him, saving the guy. And we got to see his day-to-day look.
Young.
Nice.
Probably the youngest Batman that we would have
The youngest
had. Since Batman Begins.
No, for sure. And I'm very curious to see his, relationship with the public, as a young Bruce Wayne. Something, again, alluded to before they revealed the trailer was Andy Serkis's Alfred will not be like we've seen in previous films. I'm curious. I expect him to be the most like Jeremy Irons is Alfred, but I'm expecting what I'm really, really hoping for, with that Serkis is such a physical actor. I'm really hoping this is the Alfred where we get to see his time with we get to see the results of his time working in like the British Secret Service and that kind of thing, like the RAF and all that. Because that's Alfred's origin, quote unquote, is like he did a lot of work with British military stuff before he was a Butler.
He helps train Batman, right?
And so like he's himself is just a powerful guy. Like he's obviously he's an older guy the longer you get along, but he is not a weakling, and he's not just a butler or just somebody that knows the tech side of things. He's a physical man.
We love Michael Caine, but Michael Caine's not much up in a fight unless he has a 5-iron like he does in Batman Begins and knocks out a couple guys. But, yeah, no, it'll be cool. The Jeremy Irons,
which
Alfred,
still is so good.
It is so good. It's like it's his tech guy. It's kind of like his
tech guy, and you do get the feeling like he could handle himself if he needed to.
Yeah.
But he is still getting older.
Yeah.
Serkis can definitely play a younger guy than him still.
No, I am so excited. That was one of my most exciting. Like when I saw the cast, it's the most excited I've ever been to see somebody play Alfred, right? Because Serkis is, he does a lot of these mocap roles. He was Smeagol, he was Caesar in Planet of the Apes. But he's also, we've seen him in a kind of more powerful role with Ulysses Craw, I think, from Marvel. So maybe we can get like a civilized Ulysses Craw, But I'm excited for Alfred Penny Serkis.
Alfred Penny Serkis.
Alfred Penny Serkis.
The next thing I would highlight too with the trailer itself is I already talked about how I'm excited how Paul Dano is gonna seems like he will not overshadow Pattinson, but just the clip of his voice in that trailer has already shown. I'm already sold on how debilitating he will be as a villain.
Gives you a little bit of shivers. It kind of
the line of just the accusatory nature of just, if you are justice, then do not lie. And it just has such a power behind every word he says, and such a ring of, I am in control. You are following what I am doing. We may be following your journey on what I am doing, but I am the one that you are answering to. You have to figure out what I am placing to you. And I'm very, very excited to see. And then combining that with the clip of him doing the duct tape and just looking up, and like this powerful moment. It's just, oof, it's gonna be good.
It's definitely it's chilly. It kind of gives
chilly.
It kind of gives
It
you a
is.
little bit of chills. And again, that's Paul Dano's voice. Paul Dano, fabulous, another really good actor. Really, you kind of feel his characters through the screen, just like Jeffrey Wright's. It's it'll be interesting. This is, and I feel like a lot has. Warner Bros. Been like, okay, we have Batman. We need Joker somewhere. We need him now. You don't.
We don't. No.
You don't, because we still haven't seen Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
Yep.
There's still a lot that we haven't seen. We've only heard Andy Serkis' voice. We actually haven't seen him as Alfred.
Something I've seen pointed out as an obscure little thing. The idea that the film might also hint at, and this is a very vague possibility, the first riddle that we see in the trailer, the card that it's on, you only see the front of the card for a split second, but it could be hinting at a court of owls. It actually has an owl on it with a very unique looking eyes that look sort of like maybe could be referencing that, and the riddle itself has that kind of Who aspect to it because it's playing off of like the birthday cards, the cheesy whatever. Mm-hmm. That could be nod. That could just be the riddle was using an owl motif. But there's so many possibilities of what we could be seeing the seeds laying down for.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see too. Will another movie come out of this?
Yeah,
because it's not just Batman and Joker right now with the
there is
addition
no Joker, which I'm fine with.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just saying it's not just Batman and one protagonist.
Right.
It's not like Dark Knight Rises or the regular Dark Knight. Or even Batman Begins,
This feels like a world already.
Yes. And it feels like it's really establishing something, because there's no way with all of these characters, unless the movie is going to be 6 hours long, that they can really condense this into one story and be like, well, you know what? Zoe Kravitz, her character's timeline is completed.
Yeah.
Oswald Cobblepot, his... Paul Dano's character, the Riddler. There's so much that's being established here. My hope is that there's more movies after this. I think probably they might be waiting to see how this does.
And again, this is something that's very exciting, is this concept of a year to Batman. That it's not meant to say, oh, this is their storyline that ties up. It's going to be almost more of the Gotham TV show, and a little bit of how it's like, we see this is the man that becomes Penguin that still is annoyed at the nickname.
Yeah.
This is the Riddler, but he himself is a faceless entity. We don't see him yet. Where, maybe years down the line, he becomes a bit more, wearing green and that kind of thing. Not crazy style, but, classy green. Same thing with Catwoman even. Her outfit is very much the I am a burglar. Yes, she has the little tips on her mask, but it's like a ski mask, she's nothing professional.
It's basically the two seams of the beanie. That's really what
right.
Coming
like
from.
It's just the beanie is just kind of.
It's not purposefully like a meow cat kind of. It's very much I'm a cat burglar.
Right.
Is really what
it's really what they're going for.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of origin based things there, and I think there's a lot of potential if they wanted, which they probably will, to expand on it, or of just making it a beautiful, honestly the most Arkham-esque of the movies so far, and just how much of a world it creates. Arkham is in the games.
Yeah, definitely. And it'll be interesting to see too. I'm interested to see this Gotham.
Yeah.
Because we get a different. Well, we really don't get a Gotham in with Batfleck. We
haven't gotten to see one.
We don't really get a Gotham there.
You see a little bit of it in the director's cut, but it's still very limited.
You see a tiny bit. We obviously get a Gotham that, in Christian Bale's The Dark Knight,
it's New York.
His movies, it is New York.
It is New York.
It is a city that has a lot of rough spots, but there's a group of people. You can tell that the city's really trying. It's really trying, and it's almost detrimental to itself, and that's what Joker kind of hints at that. Bane unleashes that.
Yeah. The
city being, you'll be your own doom. Here you go.
Yeah.
Do with the city what you will. It's been yours anyway. But it's just, Christian Bale's Gotham is really one that really tries to rally around people like Harvey Dent, people like Christian Bale's Batman and Bruce Wayne and everything. And it really tries, but it has a lot of issues. This, again, we're seeing a very noir kind of story, something a lot like something like Heavy Rain is kind of how it feels. But
one of the things Matt Reeves mentioned as an inspiration was Chinatown, which is a movie, Jack Nicholson detective movie, and it is incredible. So if we're getting some of the same detective vibes as from that movie, just crazy.
Yeah, and it really, it's going to be interesting to see this Gotham. With we now think we're getting a major character with John Turturro's Carmine Falcone, which we're interested to see.
Yeah.
But what kind of Gotham are we going to look at? Is it going to be that Gotham where there's just some bad, but there's a lot of good that's really kind of oblivious to it, or is it going to be really almost like how Gotham was in the Joker movie, where it is just a poop hole of a city.
And something else, and something else we're saying is that in discussion of that, Reeves mentioned they shot at Liverpool, whereas before we've had Gotham shot in Chicago and New York or whatever, to give a different, not to say this Gotham is Liverpool, England, but to give a different aesthetic, to give us that different feel for what Gotham is like, So we definitely will be seeing some unique takes.
Yeah, Batman beating up people in Manchester United jerseys, walking around.
That's exactly what's happening. Exactly.
But yeah, so I'm stoked for this.
Absolutely,
I like what I see already. They said that we're getting a very dark detective noir Batman. They already did so much for that in the trailer that. This isn't one of those things where thanks for revealing the entire movie.
They haven't shot 75% of it.
But they've done so much already, and it's a perfect trailer too because it gives you hints, but it doesn't establish everything. And there's not a fade in of one character and a fade out and then a fade in of another character. It starts, and the only thing you really see of Paul Dano's Riddler is him cutting duct tape. That's it. And then you see Batman beat a couple people up, and then you see some close-ups of Zoe Kravitz, and you hear Alfred's voice. We haven't even seen the Penguin. We haven't seen Falcone. Perhaps the character we've seen the most of really is Batman and James Gordon.
Yes.
But that was enough to, it almost establishes a little bit of their relationship.
The fact that he was openly walking with police.
Yeah. So maybe it's maybe a Batman that it'll just be interesting to see because Batman and the police are always okay, he got another bad guy, but we don't like the way he did that. It's always been in The Dark Knight Rises they're literally chasing Batman through the streets of Gotham, but it'll be interesting that relationship too. But they've already established so much for people to get excited about and for me to be hopeful about. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of ready for another episodical Batman story.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool to see, and they've got so much to work with. They absolutely have enough to run with it and create something new.
Absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned episodic stories and being excited for things. So there's a lot more revealed beyond Batman yesterday. We got to see a actual teaser for the Snyder Cut, which was amazing. To see some of the footage that has been hidden from us, and to see some of the footage.
Steppenwolf looks.
The armor.
Oh my gosh, dude!
And he's got like a narrower head, a more animalistic style.
He looks like freaking, like if you gave like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast some sick armor. Like it's crazy.
He looks so good, and just so many moments. One of the littlest things that meant so much to me was a clip where we see Clark Kent hugging Lois Lane and Martha Kent at the same time.
Yeah.
And the reason that meant so much to me was I remember having a specific moment watching the Whedon Justice League in theaters, and we have a moment that felt like a really tender scene of him reuniting with them, and it just clips straight to something else right when I was like, oh, just sit right here for a second. And so the fact that, and that was from that scene right there. And so to see additional footage there and to see him get to show more emotion of meeting, of seeing his two most loved people in the world, and the fact that we get to resonate and sit with that, I'm already so excited for that tender moment.
Yeah.
Amongst all of the other craziness that's going to happen over 4 hours of content. Like,
that's going to be 4 hours long?
It's 4 1 hour episodes.
Oh.
It is, and then they'll have a release afterwards of everything.
Yeah.
But like, there is so much.
Oh yeah.
So much.
And I think, and again, like going back to Steppenwolf, it's the little details in this. We see Darkseid. We do see Darkseid.
We even see another character. There's been debate over who it is. The guy with like the hood, and
yeah,
there's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot. I realized too. I had never actually heard Leonard Cohen's own version of his song until I heard the trailer. And that's a song that's used. It's one of
Watchmen as well.
Yeah, it's I will say it's one of those things where his rendition's actually not the best.
No,
of his
but
actual
that's
song.
the point. Not the point, but there's a rawness to it.
There is, and it's his original recording of his song. Most people have heard, and this is the version that I always thought was Leonard Cohen. Most people have heard the John Cale version on piano, which is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. That's the one you hear in Shrek. That's literally one you hear in Shrek. I had never heard Leonard Cohen's actual version because I was like, this isn't very good. Wait, who did this? And I was like, okay,
this is the original.
Okay, this wasn't Jeff Buckley because this is Jeff Buckley, very soft. It's electric guitar, very kind of almost like some.
But it's almost sing-songy the way he does. Like he's not really singing part of it. It's just, do ya? It's just saying.
Yeah,
it's just saying, and it has such a resonance to it.
And then you got John Cale's beautiful version on piano, and I was like, oh, okay, well, there's ignorant me. I've just heard this for the first time.
What's interesting to me is that we didn't get a soundtrack reveal because that was to play over the trailer. We know that Danny Elfman was not the person that is making the soundtrack for Snyder Cut because that was very much a Whedon thing.
Yep.
Well, it's a thing. But
Joseph has feelings.
I have feelings about it. But there's a lot of hope that it's Junkie XL and coming in with that. That was some of the original thoughts there. But what we did see revealed, the stuff that's been talked about before by Snyder, a lot more cyborg in there. That he's apparently like a central pillar of the story.
I mean, he's
very
literally made from a mother box. So
yeah.
He should be.
He should be. And he was completely overlooked in the original. Well, I say the original, in the botched one. And other things we see, things that we knew were originally going to be in this movie. With Iris being in there. We get to see a little bit of Flash's story. Or, some backstory.
More of Flash, yeah.
And I'm more of everybody. It's 4 hours. But getting to have these people have some established backgrounds and getting to see all of them coming together in the very end where we actually get to have that brief moment of dialogue. There was something just so powerful about the idea of us having these characters come together united truly for the first time. Like, this is, we saw the Justice League, but to really have the true Justice League come together to stand against the true threat that was meant to be there all along. It's just a very powerful moment, and I think there's just nothing but excitement coming forward for it.
Yeah, no, I saw some people was like, thanks for showing us the whole movie. I was like, you've seen the whole movie, you dunce. You've seen the whole movie. This is just Zack Snyder.
But that's the thing, though. You haven't. You've seen a movie, but that movie didn't even have Darkseid in it. It didn't even have... You know, we got to see Black Suit Superman. We got to see so many things that...
These are the people that have
changed.
Please.
Yes, absolutely.
And we could care less. Sorry, we could not care less about them at all. But
these are the people like Scott Mendelson that commented on the leaked trailer talking about how it looked samey. And it's like, Snyder called him out on Twitter, like, why are you, a professional in the industry, commenting on a leaked trailer thing that how you think it all looks samey? Like, it's a leak, so it's not even the full, whatever. You're a professional. You should not be promoting this. Like, come on, dude.
People love to hate, and that's like some of the best films. It's film critics is what, like, if I watch a movie and I look at the reviews, that's what sours it for me. I can't look at movie reviews anymore because it's just like, this was off, and I was like, but did you enjoy yourself? But this was off, but did you enjoy yourself?
Yep.
If you enjoyed yourself, don't start, like, don't be just a jerk about it. If you enjoyed yourself, let that be. And I understand that that's your job as a film critic, is to nitpick, but, like, man...
I recently rewatched The Greatest Showman. This is a bit of a tying it in, trust me. There's a critic in the actual movie, The Greatest Showman, that's constantly talking about how bad the circus is and all that. And
that guy.
Yeah. But in the film, it's just great because Barnum fires back at one point and goes just a critic that can't appreciate the arts, now who's the real show?
Yeah,
it's like, because you can't enjoy. If you can't enjoy anything, why are you watching it? You know? And so it's very much that mentality for a lot of critics that it's determined to just bring down whatever they want to tear down. So it's exciting to see all the people that have fought through that and make this a reality, because this is unprecedented in film. So.
And this is still a trailer too. Like, there's so much, again, it's 4 hours of content. We've seen, 45 seconds?
Right.
There's so much we still haven't seen. And, like, first of all, movie trailers are supposed to get you excited. Last time I checked, movie trailers are supposed to get you excited for a movie. I can't be one of those people who's just like, I didn't watch the trailer, I can't spoil it for myself. I was like, it's just going, hey, don't forget, it's coming. We're getting ready. It's going to be fun. I don't mind that at all.
There have been times where trailers have done too much, for sure.
True.
But
do them right. Zack Snyder's never had a bad trailer. I'm just gonna go
honestly, the biggest example of that for me was when we had Doomsday revealed for Batman v Superman. So I think there's a little bit of contention there.
Yeah,
but
a little bit.
This is something very different, because this is saying, hey, look at what you haven't gotten to see in a lot of things. We got to see a nightmare sequence, a sequel to the nightmare sequence, where we saw, like, the Justice League Tower in ruins in the beginning. And one of the fun little details in that was a little piece of debris that was floating by was actually a Joker card. Very interesting little detail. But we got to see like the Justice League Tower, even though it doesn't exist yet. Again, it seems like it was another one of the nightmare sequences in shambles. We got to see Barry interacting with the Speed Force in a much larger way, and that I'm very curious, because we've seen before. We see in Batman v Superman we have the moment where the Flash is reaching out to that
was a great moment, and then we literally just see him run fast a couple times in the Justice League.
Right, and so it's like, are we maybe seeing that interaction come in already? Or is that leading to him being able to do that? Like, what's happening here?
It's a great moment. I love that. It's actually one of my favorite moments in Batman vs. Superman, because it's so cool. Mm-hmm. Because that's really our first introduction to the Flash.
Yeah.
And him running through time using the Speed Force and stuff like that.
So it's there's so many possibilities that have been introduced from this trailer that showed some footage that we have seen a version of.
Yeah.
Although it definitely looks a bit different because the coloring's correct and the stuff like that, it's recontextualized. Some footage that we've seen in trailers that we never got to see in the movie that's, back. But then also brand new footage too. So there's just nothing but excitement all around.
Yeah. No, it's definitely... This was so good for DC. Because I don't think a particularly sweet taste has been in the mouths of fans. Look, I know there's problems, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to say a movie's bad if I enjoy myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say Suicide Squad is bad, because I did not in fact enjoy myself. But
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. That's I think that's the only thing we still to this day disagree on. But it got me excited because we talked about when the Snyder Cut was announced, what's this going to look like? And now we have a glimpse, it's kind of exactly what we were hoping for it to look like.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Just
nothing but positives from this. Good job, DC.
Yeah.
Well done.
And that's the thing is that this fandom in general, this showing yesterday was a really good moment for Warner Brothers, as they were the bad guys for so long, and they still have a lot to answer for, but they have shown that they are turning a new leaf, and that starting with like the Joker film, that they are releasing it back to the creators, that they're saying, hey, James Gunn is making a Suicide Squad movie, and he's doing whatever he wants with it. Hey, Matt Reeves is making a Batman movie, and he's doing whatever he wants with it. Hey, we're getting Snyder here to do what he wanted to do with this.
Todd Phillips and Joker was Warner Brothers and DC,
yes,
right?
Yes, that was also like saying, starting with like that last year.
Good introduction.
Todd Phillips, right, did what he wanted with this. And look at what's happened when we give the people, when we say, hey, have the freedom.
Yeah.
We learned our lesson.
It's what Marvel did right from the get-go.
And it's also
why we got something like Guardians of the Galaxy.
And it's something that, we could argue all whatever about different, Disney doing different things, but from Warner Brothers' side, we're seeing that continuing into other films of finally officially saying, hey, Black Adam is actually going to happen. Because that's something Dwayne Johnson has wanted to do for years and years, and now we're finally saying, yes, have the freedom to make with, whoever else, he's an executive producer. Have the freedom to make what you want there, and he's wanted to play this role for so long. And then, even continuing some other announcements like, Shazam 2 got its name, Shazam Fury of the Gods. So there's, so they're continuing what they've started, but there's a very much a shift, a mentality shift of not saying, we need X, Y, Z from these specific things to make our idea of a competition. It's just, hey, make the story that you see, and these characters, these worlds are so rich and vibrant, honestly more so than our competition, it will succeed.
Yeah, because and again, here's the thing right now, I don't know if it's ever been like a talking point with them. Marvel's not a competition right now. There's nothing happening.
There isn't much happening right now.
There isn't much happening at all.
This is a good point to come in.
This is great, and it's like, it's not to say that everything they've done up until this point has been a failure. Now, box office wise, a little bit.
Justice League was a little bit,
yeah.
But overall, their movies have been making money.
They've been making money, but it's not even at that point. It's not even about the money. It's to say, what have they done right? What have they done wrong? And I feel like they've really had some time to look at what they've done wrong, and they had Joker as a reference to go, we kind of just gave Todd Phillips a lot of money and some toys, and look what he did.
Yeah.
And so,
and combine that with the Snyder Cut movie, that I still say is the foundation for what has caused them to turn, is realizing the power of what a creator's original vision
giving
could do.
Giving a creative person the ability and the freedom to carry out their creative vision is one of the best things you can do as a movie studio. And we've seen it time and time again. Marvel is a perfect example. You give guys...
I still disagree there, but it's fine.
Well, I mean, maybe not perfect, but it's a good example.
You have Ragnarok, you have Guardians of the Galaxy. You
give like guys, and especially early on, you give guys like Jon Favreau.
Yes, who, especially the original Iron Man.
You give guys like Jon Favreau the ability to work on some of these projects and to work more behind the scenes. Who I think he's even better behind the scenes than he is on camera because he is the main man behind The Mandalorian.
Yes.
Not to shift the tone of this podcast to that, but we've seen that Disney was able to go, you know what, James Gunn, take this and run with it.
Yeah.
And we got honestly one of the best Marvel films ever made.
The film that they owe so much to Gunn, because I was telling you earlier, Guardians of the Galaxy is the movie that let the MCU go from being an Earth-size thing to being a universe-size
thing. They took it to the multiverse real well, I guess.
The universe, DC's taking it to the multiverse.
They are.
We're very excited about that.
But there's just so much that they're doing right now, and I think all of this happening is going to make a lot of what happened before not look obsolete and like an absolute failure. Not like, they did a test, they got an F, and they read it and they got an A. It's going to make a C or maybe even a B minus look like an A. It's going to make it, it's going to give it more of like a...
It is going to look back at the previous generations and say, you walked so we could run.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I think it's kind of what they're going towards. And I mean, unless they really, really drop the ball, I don't see them not executing on that. So it's good to see them do that. Good for Warner Brothers. This whole thing, this DC FanDome thing was huge. Even on the gaming side, we didn't even talk about. There's a couple of game announcements. Gotham Knights got some popularity, but Suicide Squad was a very popular announcement within the Arkham verse. A new game, multiplayer, new ways to play, fun set of characters, all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot to look forward to in all fronts as a DC fan right now. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff happening. Something I would eventually love to see at some point is a redo of Watchmen, because that had so much potential, and I like it.
I loved the Watchmen.
I enjoyed.
They made that TV show and it didn't get so good. So
I enjoyed the movie, but it's just like the story's really cool, but it's done in just such a weird freaking way. And it's like again, this was
too ahead of its time.
It was. I would love to see another Watchmen movie. I would, and that's just something personally that
I don't know how you could do it better, but I can and especially considering they made a TV show recently that's gotten very mixed reviews.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to see another Watchmen done right. It would. And there are definitely some weird moments in the original. I'm not going to deny that at all. But
everything with Dr. Manhattan.
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, it's just he's a big blue guy. He's got some, he's
I knew you were gonna do that because I saw it with my brain.
The
future.
Yeah, that's Dr. Manhattan right there for you.
My fingers taste like batteries.
That's literally him.
I hate it. Anyway,
but it's true.
It is true. They're like, I hate humanity. I'm gonna go to make another planet.
That's the character though, man. I'm telling you, that's the character. But no, it is a lot to there's a lot to see. And there's a lot more that will be seen. We've seen nothing but good that could come from this. And that motorcycle that's outside.
Yeah.
But did you have any concluding thoughts to go through?
No. It'll be... So as far as timelines coming out, all of this is 2021. We don't really have...
Some of it's 2022, like the Suicide Squad game is going to be 2022.
Yeah.
And Black Adam, who knows when that's, they haven't started production on that yet.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff is 2021, 2022 right now. I think Snyder Cut and Batman are confirmed for 2021.
Yes, they are.
Those times, though, the exact dates, we don't really have those yet.
We're in a bit of a pandemic happening, so it's a little subject to change. But
speaking of pandemic things, keep an eye out for your movies coming out later this year. No Time to Die is still slated to release November 25th, as well as Mulan's supposed to have a release here on Disney Plus pretty soon. I'm interested to see how that turns out because it didn't really interest me.
Think about that. Yeah.
No. Yeah. So but support your movies, guys. That and
buy a
I say
gift
that
card.
buy it. Yeah. Actually
You
purchase. Actually buy that $4 bottle of water at Regal. Don't actually. Please don't do that. But there's a lot of time and love, even if something's bad. A lot of time and love go into these movies. Zack Snyder is easily one of the most passionate directors in the world, in that when he gets into a project, even if crud happens in the middle, he's going to make sure it's done. And it might not be what he wants to be, but the fact that he cares enough... Look, it's not like Zack Snyder didn't get paid for the original Justice League. Man got a buttload of money for that, as did everybody. But you can tell it is a passion project because he's coming back and he's going, I want to do this the right way. And
it was done the wrong way, and you can see it from the entirety of the cast completely supporting him 1,000% and saying he just consistently talking about how he's the best director they've ever worked under.
When your cast wants to work with you and backs you up like that, just like the Guardians of the Galaxy cast backed up James Gunn, that kind of shows your character and your in your workplace life.
Yes. You are a good boss.
Yes. You do something right. Your cast likes working with you, and they want to do more projects with you. The entire Guardians of the Galaxy cast just easily went, okay, he's not going to be in it. Good luck recasting the Guardians. That. But that just shows you that this is a craft. It is an art form, and that these people spend time on this stuff, and it's unbelievable what it produces. And just go out there and appreciate it, and be inspired by it. It's inspiring. This is incredible.
Yeah,
it's a good time for movies right now, despite everything else going on.
For sure. Well, look forward to more goodness like this. It's a very, very exciting episode to film, because this is definitely a lot of good things to look forward to.
Oh yeah, and so
it's a good bright spot in all the craziness going on.
Yep, and keep an eye out for more trailers and more announcements, and see what else is hanging out in the wind that we don't see.
Yeah, if you've somehow made it through all the way to the end with us, hey, that's kind of cool. You should sub or something.
That would be pretty sweet.
Oh, you know what the thing to say is, you always ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Yeah, I've never rung that bell.
I have a bell somewhere. I don't know where it is.
I have a brass cowbell at my house from my grandfather's house.
That would have been great.
It is so loud.
Yeah.
I thought about putting it on my dog as a joke, but it would weigh down his neck because it's so heavy. But it is so very loud. So pretend that
it's cowbell.
You're listening.
You need more cowbell.
You're ringing that cowbell if you want to do that.
We
Personally, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't ring the bell. I just subscribe and pay attention.
Yeah, that's all we need to do. So,
yeah. Thanks again, and we will see you next time on the Jake with Jay podcast. What are we now? Jake with Jay Productions.
It's a podcast. Yeah. This is the podcast.
Whatever the name of our channel is.
We're something. Jay's. There's equal signs as Jay's. There's equations with letters. It's all algebra to us. We don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Tune in next time to find out where that accent came from.
I don't know either. Stay beautiful.
See ya.